must be sleeping under a rock or something.
What's up, everybody? We're glad to come back with another episode of Slave to Wrestling, STW, your main source of all your wrestling news and rumors and reviews. Today we're going to be talking about the late, great Terry Funk, a great 50-year career. There's so much to be said about him. He's the hardcore god. I've said it before, and I think it was the very first podcast we did, the day he actually passed, and I don't think any of us were ready for that, to hear that news. Let's just jump off with, Terry Funk meant a lot to my family, and I mean that because my dad used to go back in the territory days, back in Pueblo with my grandpa. And my dad always used to tell me territory stories about wrestlers. He had stories about Dusty Rhodes. He had stories about Blackjack Mulligan, Cowboy Bob Orton. The names can go on and on forever. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Andre the Giant, Abdullah. Let's just say that, and I'll get to those matches here in a second with Terry Funk. But so my dad said it was like 72, 73 was the first time that he's seen Terry Funk and Dory Funk Jr. wrestle. It was a tag team. He said he couldn't remember Blackjack Mulligan's tag team partner at the time. But he said the way that Terry used to come out and Dory used to come out and the way they used to talk on the microphone, even when he was a young kid. My dad was born in 57, so you got to think he was like maybe 12, 13, maybe 14 there. So, like, to hear those promos and to know what great wrestling was, and you got so many different wrestlers coming through the territories all the time, it was just a crazy scene. Like, my dad was telling me the one time that he seen Terry Funk wrestle single match against Andre the Giant. The kids were running from Andre. The sweat was pouring off of Andre's head. He actually met Terry, I know it's kind of unconventional, but he met Terry Funk in the bathroom. Let's say he was washing his hands. And yeah, he actually met Terry Funk in person, and he said that was something that always stuck with him. So I've always loved Terry Funk, and I've always loved hearing stories about the territories days, but to actually hear somebody that actually got to see him in his young career in 72, 73, he was, 5 years, 6, 7 years deep, 8 years deep in his wrestling career, I would say. So, yeah, it was just amazing. What do you got? What do you got going on? What memories do you got of Terry Funk, my brother?
Hey, it's Devin Alexander in the house, man. What's up, everybody? How you doing? Back with Slave to Wrestling. A little bit of a lighter episode than that last one. That Bray Wyatt episode was a little heavy, you know what I'm saying? We apologize for that. It was just, it was just a situation, you feel me? But, man, I'm an ECW guy. If you know me, you know I love deathmatch wrestling. I get a big kick out of it. Some of the traditionalists don't really vibe with it, which I totally understand that. But him putting ECW on his back and risking his name for this fledgling company that Shane Douglas threw the title down on, and he attached himself to that company early on in its infancy, and made ECW what it was. The match he had with Sabu and the wars he had with Mick Foley, even in ECW, and so I'm very much a fan of that line of work, especially because he was older too. He didn't have to do any of that. And him coming out and doing the ECW thing was really awesome.
I agree with you. I loved all the ECW work. Forgot to introduce myself. I never introduced myself. You guys should already know. Sorry for not introducing myself. I forget sometimes, but you guys already should know who I am. I'm your tribal chief, Ryan Reigns. Acknowledge me. But like I was saying, the one episode that we just did was really just heartfelt because it was just really unexpected for that to happen. Yeah, that's how that was. And I do apologize for getting a little emotional, but not really too much. Let you guys know also. So with Terry Funk, I don't know, some people were friends on Facebook, whatever, you know. I've been watching I was watching a lot of Terry Funk matches after I hear of his passing, and I was watching ECW prior to that on the WWE network, not trying to promote them or anything, but that's where I was watching the early stuff when it was still Eastern Championship Wrestling, and it was Terry Funk and Eddie Gilbert. That was some really great feuds, and Terry was amazing in that. And then, like Devin was saying, we were that whole entire time that he put ECW on his back, and the storytelling that he had with Mick Foley was just phenomenal. And I'll tell you something that I did not know about him, and I just watched the match probably in between the sessions, actually. It was Terry Funk and Dory Funk Jr. versus the Great Baba, and I can't say the other gentleman's name very well, so sorry if I butchered his name. Jumbo Toyoshita. I'm sorry about that, guys, but that was a really good match. So if you want to go onto YouTube, go to just the Great Baba versus Terry Funk, and yeah, that was a really good match. That was really how they built the match up, how they did the tags, everything like that. The way they worked was just phenomenal. I am a old school wrestling fan more than I am a lot of stuff, and you guys will find that out through episodes of this thing. But I do like deathmatch wrestling. It's not that I don't like deathmatch wrestling. I just like it when it's done properly and if you can actually tell a story with it. It's not just smack here, smack there, anything like that. Well, when it's a tournament, now it's totally different. Anything goes. That's the way a tournament is. I don't know if just in regular sports, that's just the way it is. So, yeah, that's just the way that I look at tournaments different to matches. I will say that right now, okay? Before we have any further explanations. But Terry Funk, his 50-year career just was, I can't remember who he pile drived. They were showing highlights of when he pile drived the guy in the stable in WWE.
Oh yeah,
the horse almost kicked him.
Yeah,
that was. I was watching that the other day, and I was just like, "Dang, bro, that was some crazy stuff." And Cody Rhodes last night, I have to say, he did a really good job of talking about Terry, because I mean, who would know Terry Funk better than Cody Rhodes? You know what I mean?
Right.
And
definitely.
He knows how much Terry meant to the business all the way around, from the territory days to ECW, let's say this, from Eastern Championship Wrestling to Extreme Championship Wrestling. We'll say both of those, even though they were both called ECW, they were both two different kind of entities at themselves, you know what I mean?
Right. The time he spent in WCW and, you know.
Yes, and then he actually went to the WWE and, well, WWF at that time.
Chainsaw Charlie, man.
Yes, and that was a great gimmick with Mick Foley, and even their feud there was a great feud when Mick was already kind of broken down body-wise, and Terry was in there talking all that trash about his wife, the WWE, the everything, you know what I mean? Terry could do it then, he could do it now. It was just a very, very sad thing. What else do you remember of Terry that comes to your mind? Like, right off the bat. There's so much stuff.
Him getting chokeslammed out of his shoes by The Undertaker at Hell in a Cell, King of the Ring 98. That was hilarious, but also the fact that Terry came up with the idea that Mick and the Undertaker should start to match on top of the cage, and how that ended up turning out. We all know how that iconic moment was, but that was from the mind of Terry Funk. And was it not for him, that iconic moment wouldn't even be here. See, those are the little things that we tend to overlook and forget. That some of these folks are very influential behind the scenes, you know, and I think about Terry Funk being in Roadhouse. I think about him being in Over the Top. You know, like he had
Yes.
crossover appeal too, and that's always indicative of good wrestlers. They always end up, you know, crossing over and doing the acting thing for a little bit. And you know, he had feuds with Ric Flair. He had feuds with Hogan. So you know, he worked with some of the best, you know, in the business, and was able to hold his own against guys like that because he was one of the best too. Let's not discredit him for any reason. 2009 Hall of Fame inductee. You know, he went in the Hall of Fame with Stone Cold Steve Austin that year. That was a pretty awesome year for the Hall of Fame, and I was really happy with that. You know, the speech that he gave, and you know, he really made this old man proud, and you know, it's there's a lot of memories. There's a lot of things we could talk about. There's a lot of different eras we could talk about. You know, Chainsaw Charlie and Mick Foley winning the tag titles. Uh, you know, like there's just so many different accomplishments. The NWA World Championship back in the day. You know, like his body of work is impressive to say the least. So.
Well, like you said, the I Quit match, the matches with Ric Flair, the I Quit match was just amazing. And I mean, amazing. It was one of the matches. I watched that match. It's I don't remember it now because I watched so many Terry Funk matches between then and now. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's been over probably 20 to 30. And another great feud that they had was when Terry Funk and Bruiser Brody wrestled each other, and that was an amazing match. And you know how crazy Bruiser Brody was with that chain going through the crowd, swinging that chain around. It was just that match was just crazy. Let's just say that. That was almost Chainsaw Charlie to the max, even though it wasn't Chainsaw Charlie,
Indeed.
you know?
Indeed.
That was just a hardcore god, Terry Funk.
We just keep losing these greats, man. It's just tough, you know. Like I think about the memories that they leave behind, and the matches that we get to watch now. They kind of live on. You know, that's their legacy. You go back and you watch that content, and you look back at it, and you get warm and fuzzy memories, and you think about the times you spent growing up, watching them perform and doing their thing, and that shit'll live on forever. It'll always be with us, you know, and that's the best part about it. Like, you can, if you're a Terry Funk fan, there's enough content out there, you'll never forget him. You know, he'll always be with you.
Always. And his feuds with Abdullah the Butcher were some of the best. Something that a lot of people don't know, or they do know, and if you don't know, well, you will know. A lot of people never thought Terry Funk would make it to the WWF. A lot of people said that because he did wrestle for Vince Sr. back in the day. But you got to remember, this is when Terry was an older guy, and Vince really didn't care for older guys, and Terry was going through the hardcore phase, and you know how Vince felt at that time. But then the Attitude Era hit, and Terry Funk who was better than Terry Funk for the Attitude Era? Who had more attitude than Terry Funk?
Right.
Their original attitude, you know what I mean? So that's something that, like, Abdullah the Butcher never did. He never wrestled for Vince Sr., and he never wrestled for Vince McMahon Jr.
Either do
Abdullah the Butcher, one of the top gimmicks in pro wrestling territory history. In history, never wrestled for Vince McMahon Sr. or Jr. Isn't that crazy? To know that Terry Funk did, but Abdullah didn't? Yeah. And if you don't believe me, go look it up.
That's that wild.
I'm just telling you guys. But yeah, man, there's so many things when Terry. when Terry wrestled Hulk Hogan, we knew it was going to happen there. But that's the thing about Terry. He wasn't afraid to put young talent over.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't selfish.
He most definitely wasn't selfish. He wasn't selfish at all. That was one of the things about him. You know, people always say he's a sweetheart backstage. Very thankful to have met him and things like that. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet him, which I would have had the opportunity. That'd have been great. But you know, it's just life. You know.
Exactly, and like I said, we're gonna be doing the Dark Side of the Rings. Also, some of the reviews on those and talk about some of the wrestlers that we love and we've watched over the years and reviewed the episodes themselves. But there is one episode I do want you guys to check out. It's the FMW episode. Terry Funk is one of the talking heads on that one, actually talking about how before the guy in Japan owned FMW or started FMW, he wrestled for another company, and they used to send him out to Texas, and he would travel around with Terry, and he would learn from Terry Funk because the American style and Japanese style at that time was different. But he will tell you, even though they never really spoke the same language, they spoke the same language, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a really good episode. And the way Terry talks on that, it's classic Terry Funk, let's just say that. And that's one of my favorite episodes. I have to say that I've watched it about 2 or 3 different times, just because I love the history of Japan wrestling. As a younger, I think a lot of us as younger guys, we had to go find the tapes and buy them if we wanted to see that stuff. That we didn't have YouTube back in the day, stuff like that.
Right.
So a lot of the matches like Mick Foley and Terry Funk doing those amazing matches out there in FMW with Sabu and the Iron Sheik I don't know if they called him the Iron Sheik out there. I think they just called him Sheik, but wrestled all those guys. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it was just, yeah, there's so much to Terry Funk. We could go on we could make 4 or 5 different episodes just about Terry Funk in different eras.
His time in All Japan Wrestling, the time when he was in a championship wrestling from Florida, his WCW run from 89-90, and then when he returned there in 94, his International Wrestling Association of Japan time, his FMW time with Onita. I mean, he's got an extensive list of, you know, I mean, he even won the Hardcore Championship in WCW, you know what I'm saying, 3 times and stuff. So there's so many different areas in which you could just really just spend time diving into the matches. You know, I was being a little worried about Terry because, you know, they said he had dementia in 2021. And his wife had passed in 2019. And, you know, as you know, with men especially, when the wife passes, it's not long before the husband goes too. And I've been kind of worried about it, to be honest with you. I wasn't ready for it, but I was still worried about it. And, well, you know, at least he's not, you know, suffering at all anymore. And that's always something to be thankful for.
Exactly. I have to agree 1,000%. Left so many memories for us, and to the new wrestling fans that come along, make sure you do check out Terry Funk. Literally, you'll learn a lot about the wrestling business in general, just watching Terry Funk's matches, watching his promos, watching everything that he did in the ring, outside the ring. Like I said, one of the best, wrestled for so many different promotions, and that's how you know you're good. If people like to say in one place, you know, Terry was kind of that wild card, everybody always said, and I don't blame him. It was get your dollar in. I felt bad for him. I know he was 3-time WCW Hardcore champion, but man, WCW was doing so bad at that time. That's the reason why I don't
Man.
even remember some of those
Yeah.
wins. I'm not going to even lie to you. Because
WCW on
and
its
it
way
was like I
out.
said, that's not Terry's fault right there,
No.
man. That's just Vince Russo, bro. Once again, bro. Gosh, bro. Like real's like I'm not gonna lie to you, like you know what I mean, and that makes me sad that I didn't get to see Terry return to WCW in 2000 to 2001, like straight up, because I didn't watch. I was not interested at that time. It was and WCW was just getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and we all know about the Bash at the Beach 2000, so that's just what cements everything overall with that the whole entire little period of WCW and has nothing to do with Terry Funk. Like I said, I just wish I wish I would have watched those matches live when I was a kid. But looks like YouTube is gonna. I guarantee you they have those matches on the WWE network on Peacock. So I'll probably watch that. And I don't even know if we could be saying that I don't even know if we can use their name, so I'm just gonna say the Bird from now on.
Man,
yeah, the Hub Bird.
It's crazy to think that Terry Funk wrestled from 1965 until 2017. He wrestled his last match in 2017, which is so wild to think. It was September 22nd, 2017 to be exact. Wrestling for the Big Time Wrestling Promotion in Raleigh, North Carolina, where he teamed with the Rock and Roll Express against Doug Gilbert, Jerry Lawler, and Brian Christopher. So,
yep.
Wild, man.
I watched that match, and that was a match. That's all I'm gonna say.
Word. Well, you got anything else for us, my friend?
No. I have more territory stories when we go back and we talk about some of the wrestlers that we loved in other episodes like that.
Right.
We're gonna try to highlight one on some of the review episodes or just do it randomly. And that's just how we do things here. We love wrestling and we just love talking about wrestling. So Terry Funk was we love you. We hope your family's doing good. And rest in peace, my brother.
Rest in peace to the Funker, man. Rest in peace to the Funker, man. That's it, man. This is Devin Alexander, Slave to Wrestling Podcast. Make sure you tune in for our next show coming up real soon.
And acknowledge your tribal chief, Ryan Reigns. We will see you soon. Love y'all. ST Dub.
It's LA Knight's game. Yeah.